If you're wondering what the market and your favorite stocks are likely to do this Monday, then this is the video for you. Sit tight, strap in, because I'm going to explain to you guys what's likely happening in the market right now. And we're going to talk about the VIX and look over the volatility. We're going to look at SPY, Meta, Microsoft. We're going to also look at Apple, Google, MicroStrategy, and Tesla, as well as Palantir and SoFi, and gauge the market to understand exactly what's going on and what's likely to happen this week. But also, don't skip any part of this video, because somewhere in this video, I'm going to show you how to gauge the market Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, in order to understand what is almost for sure likely to happen Monday morning. This strategy is extremely accurate. It's almost 100%. Whatever happens on Sunday with this strategy is almost guaranteed to happen and translate into Monday and Tuesday. So don't skip any part of this video. There's lots of information coming, and I'm going to show you guys how we gauge the market every single week. And this is a strategy that I utilize in Discord and show my students. And I had two very specific trades, which I also use this strategy for, Meta and XYZ. A lot of YouTubers were pumping PayPal, but you can see right there, it tanked. And I told everyone in my Discord to take XYZ. You can see the alert right there from the Discord, and we printed on XYZ. That's not the only trade. We also took Meta in the last few weeks, and I told my students to grab Meta. There's the trade alert, and it ran, and I have students that made $10,000, $20,000, $40,000, even students that made $60,000 on this trade. And you can see those comments right there. So these strategies I'm going to show you are part of my Discord and exactly how I gauge the market. And I'm going to show you how to do this. Let's dive right in. Starting first off, we're going to look at the VIX. We can see that there's been a really big dip on the VIX, and this shows us the volatility of the market and how the market is responding to all of this. And that's what it really does, is gauges the change in momentum, the volatility, buying and selling, and just overall shows us the fear or greed in the market, the sentiment. It's very good and very accurate at doing this. When the tariffs last happened, you can see there was a big spike, comes down, pulls back up, and then slowly tapers off. Very similar situation, still very much a big downtrend in the VIX. We have a really big spike here, breaking all the previous structure. And we can see here heavy resistance based on the previous June 10th to June 20th. It's resisting that zone. And as long as tariffs improve this week, we get some answers. And data is also good because services PMI likely beats, as it always does. Monday and Tuesday, we could see volatility kind of come down. And this week, by midweek, we could be back around $18. Things will improve in the market. That's likely to happen. If services PMI data comes out good and it beats, we'll be good to go. But we have to keep our eyes on that. Looking at Apple, they crushed EPS, revenue, and their guidance was also good for the third quarter of 2025, and sales are up. Apple really only tumbled down because of the market and tariff concerns. If tariff concerns look good this week and the administration clarifies things and we get, deals done and it doesn't get crazy or absurd like it very well should, then Apple will work its way by this week and next week back into the 214 to 220 range. And that is a very likelihood because we already have a lot of tariff deals, and the deal with China and Europe is already in the bag, essentially, for the most part. A tariff issue with Canada or with other countries really doesn't affect the iPhone much because it's produced in China. So if the tariff deal with China is good, which last time we heard about it was good, then this is really just blowback from the market itself. And likely Apple will kind of bounce around the 200 to 205 range and work its way back up through this week and next week. And that's the big likelihood for Apple. And looking at Amazon, same thing. Their guidance dropped for quarter three due to tariff concerns and the fact that they relied on sales outside of AI more than they should have. But AWS earnings were still very good. The cloud computing unit had a decline. So that's what also caused Amazon to decline. And it does look like there's a lot of support here in the 210, 212 range. And when the tariff issues calm down this week, it will go back up. So I see here a lot of technical analysis on the stock shows that it'll come down. It's oversold. It's going to bounce around here. If tariff, work out this week and the data on services PMI are good, then it will come back up and work its way up here. But, for right now, it's going to bounce around here, maybe a light pullback or a jump in the overnight hours going into Monday if we get some resolve with any of these uncertainties fear surrounding tariffs. Looking on Palantir, this is a great company. And I think at this point, based on their history, they're going to beat earnings. And no matter what they do Monday, we are likely, very, very likely, going in the close of Monday through earnings, that Palantir very well could be somewhere between 160 and 170, maybe even a little bit higher, unless they miss. If they miss earnings, then we could see Palantir down here. But these are my price targets. Essentially, I think the likelihood is more up here because they've consistently beat earnings. If you truly believe they'll beat earnings and you truly, believe in this stock's future and their growth, then, one can't argue against buying call options or selling puts down here at 130 or 145 range, 150, especially since they've considerably beaten the previous 4 earnings in a row. However, I would be very cautious with this one because any wrong move could send it tumbling, although it's a very good hedge against the market. When the market's not doing too well, Palantir always does well. As long as their earnings are good and PMI services data is good and their guidance is good, then Palantir will be good. So if they beat the estimates and they beat it by enough and the guidance is good and then PMI services data the next day is good on Tuesday, barring tariff talk, I really don't think tariff talk is going to have drastic impact on Palantir. I think that earnings and services data is likely to play a major role, but all of this is already priced in. So I think even with earnings beat, the stock only climbs up a little bit, maybe into 162, 165, somewhere in this area. And I believe a lot of this price action is already pricing in a good earnings. So if they don't crush earnings, it will likely pull back a little bit. Keep that in mind. MicroStrategy has pulled back a lot because of Bitcoin. Their earnings was absurdly good with a 33,000% revenue beat, but all of this revenue comes from Bitcoin. So essentially what that means is it doesn't matter that it's that high. If Bitcoin goes down, they're still going to go down because their treasury is based on Bitcoin. If they had that kind of EPS and it wasn't on Bitcoin at all, this was like their cash revenue, the stock would be like $700 right now or $600 because of that insane number. But it's based on Bitcoin. Let me show you. If we were to go over to Bitcoin right now, you will see, there we go. If we look at right here, we got a low. And if we go back, we had another low on July 1st. Same exact low on July 1st, right here. And then another one on June 23rd. Same thing right here. Look at Bitcoin. We're looking for the exact number right here, which was July 1st, Tuesday, July 1st. And Tuesday, July 1st would be right here. You see it right there. MicroStrategy's drop more because their company is not completely in parallel and tracking Bitcoin. It's not 100%. We can see that the most recent low where we are now on Bitcoin was July 10th. We go to MicroStrategy, July 10th was right around here. So it's dipped a little bit below, telling me for the most part, MicroStrategy is a little bit oversold. MicroStrategy should actually be more like 380, 385. So there's more upside to MicroStrategy, but it does track Bitcoin. Bitcoin is actually going up right now. So a little tidbit, little secret for you. MicroStrategy, we can see went down. If we look at 7, 8 p.m. on Friday, it would be right here. So let's go to the 1 hour. On MicroStrategy, we're on the 1 hour. We're looking at Friday at 8 p.m., which was right here. Okay. So it closed at 113,219. So it's down a little bit, but going back up. We can see that Bitcoin is coming up. If Bitcoin starts to go up and it goes back to 115, well, then MicroStrategy is going to open up and be back around 390 to 400. So you keep your eye on Bitcoin over the weekend as it consistently tracks and it's open all the time for trade. So be aware of that. It's very important to understand that. MicroStrategy tracks Bitcoin with all the tariff talk and everything going on, then that's going to affect Bitcoin. So once all this dust settles and the details of the data come out on Tuesday and all the details of tariffs keep coming out over the weekend and Monday and Tuesday, Bitcoin will go up. And when it goes up, it'll track MicroStrategy right back up. MicroStrategy is highly likely to break 460 again in the coming month or sooner, especially with Bitcoin, but it does track Bitcoin pretty closely. Not 100%, but it does track. SPY is also pulling back heavily. It's dropped to 621 from its high of 641, and there's a lot of support in the 620 and a lot more support in 612 and even more at 604. There is a lot of stability here, but I think with tariff talk, it'll pull back a little bit more. We might actually get 615 this week or 612 before it actually runs. A lot of this is affected by Apple and Amazon and the hyperscalers, Microsoft, Meta. These stocks are really pulling down SPY. That's what they do. They're all in SPY, and that's what causes SPY to drop down. This This following week, especially Monday and Tuesday, I would expect some bearish sentiment into the 616 range. And then with good data on Tuesday and going to the week, SPY starts pushing back up into 620, 625 again. Now, granted, this weekend, any positive tariff talk could have a positive influence on this stock, but right now it's looking a little rough. I'd be very patient and not be throwing money into these stocks just yet and see how things open up Monday, which I will show you how to gauge that. That's how we get our winners throughout the week. There's a lot that goes into it, not just this strategy, but stick around. I'm going to be showing you how to do this and how to gauge the market on SPY tomorrow night. So right now, I think SPY very well could stay where it's at as long as data is good and we get some resolve on tariffs. If not, it could find its way down at 610, 612 before pushing back up again. Right now, we're in a pullback. You must be very careful. Looking at Microsoft, it had a massive pullback after earnings. They beat earnings by a big number, 2 billion, 2.51 billion, almost a 10% beat on the EPS, yet they pulled back 80% of the jump, which shows you how much fear there is in the market due to volatility and, of course, tariff talk. Microsoft was well up to 561. They pushed 4 trillion. I told you in multiple videos and in Discord, Microsoft was going to hit 4 trillion this summer. And when the stock price was 562, they were actually 4 trillion because right now they're 3.9. You see, shares float is 7.32 billion. So if we take 7.32 and we times it by the current price of 524.11, you get almost 3.9 trillion. Okay. When the stock price was 562 times 7.32, there you go, 4 trillion. Microsoft had a 4 trillion market cap after earnings, which is literally what I told you guys on previous videos. And I told my Discord, and I've said this when I picked Microsoft in the top 5 stocks to buy several months ago. I've been saying it many times. Microsoft would be 4 trillion. And there you go. It happened just a little over 4 days ago after earnings. Actually, it was Wednesday or Thursday. They broke 4 trillion market cap. Now they're back down to 3.9. Microsoft, a very great company to own. I don't see it dropping below 505 or 510. I think if we wait for a little bit more of a pullback, we could go into this stock and sell put options at 500 after the stock drops to 510. If that happens and it drops to 510 or 505, you could go 500 or below and start selling put options because this shows you where the stock's likely to go. And a lot of people sold up here. And up here is what I like to call, a supply zone. This is where the stock will eventually gravitate to and have to break in order to run higher. So in the next 6 months, the next 3 months, stock's going to have to break through this to go higher. So it's a zone that's almost guaranteed to be broken at some point. So if you're getting in down here, it's for sure at some point going to be back up here. And usually this happens within 3 to 6 months. Sometimes it takes a little longer than that, but Microsoft's a very great company, so it's a long-term hold anyway. But honestly, I don't see this stock dropping much below 500 or 480. And the only way that would happen down here is we'd have to have very massively bearish sentiment and news on tariffs. Otherwise, I think we're consolidating in the 510 to 520 range and pushing upwards as we have some resolve. Looking at Tesla, this is a stock that's kind of unaffected by tariffs. It's just doing its own thing all the time. And so the tariffs hit, all the stocks pulled back pretty dramatically, and Tesla dropped $10. So they're not really tracking tariff news per se. Elon Musk could come out and say some really nice, bullish, wonderful things, and the tariffs could be atrocious and the stock would still run. So in my opinion, Tesla's a risky play because of Elon and tariffs, but more or less Elon. If Elon stopped saying negative things about, the president and stopped saying negative things about the country and stopped involving himself so much in politics, not saying I agree or disagree, I'm just saying if he focused more on the company, I think that Tesla would be a little bit more independent than of the tariff news. As you can clearly see, Microsoft dropped like $40, SPY dropped like 20 something dollars, Amazon dropped 20, Apple dropped 15. All these stocks are getting beat up and Tesla dropped like, $10, but it did that before. So Tesla's just kind of doing Tesla stuff. So this is actually a safer play than other stocks would be right now for tariff talk, because it's essentially not really affecting them as much as it has other stocks. So this would be, believe it or not, like a Palantir play. It's a little bit less affected on tariff talks. So, but it still has its own problems. So you have to be aware of that. Right now is not really a buying opportunity or a time to buy. We have to see how things settle out. Another stock to look at, looking at SoFi. They beat the earnings like I told you guys they would. absolutely crushed, ran to 25, pulled all the way back on the share offering, ran back to 23, and now because of the tariffs, they're back down. A lot of support in the $20 range. And even with all this tariff talk, I don't see SoFi dipping much below $19.50 or $20. I really think $20 is the floor right now for SoFi outside of something company specific. So I believe SoFi will be okay. A pullback in the $18 or $19 range is possible, but it's very, very unlikely. As you guys can see right here, this is the solid support zone at 2025. It's already bounced off there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, 9 times, almost 10 times, and then all of this interest over here. So it's unlikely to break. If it does, it would be black swan. This is very strong here. I don't think SoFi is going to pull back. I've had a lot of other YouTubers that have been saying that SoFi is going to pull back to 10. It's going to tank. It very well could pull back, but I don't see that happening. So because SoFi crushed earnings on the 29th, it's just based on their revenue and their growth, very unlikely. Tariff talk can happen, but specifically to this company that did so well, right now, in my opinion, SoFi is the likely stronger play of all the stocks I've just mentioned right now this week with tariff talk because of how good they beat earnings. Looking at Meta, same thing. Meta crushed, pulled back. Key thing, unlike Microsoft, they stopped right here at 747. So this area right here is of key interest. And here, if Meta was to break this range and fall down to 745 and keep falling, it would start testing 736. So that would be where it would stabilize. And if it broke that, we'd be back down to 725. In my opinion, these are the three tiers: 750, 740, and then again here at 725. If the data this week is bad, it'll probably pull back and settle in around 725 or 715. Down here is where the stock is likely to go if news keeps getting worse. If tariff data comes out good, it could dip and then come back up and kind of play on the support right here, but we don't know yet. And right now it's looking bearish because of the tariff talk, just like every other stock is doing. So AMD, another stock with earnings Tuesday the 5th. It's unlikely this stock will drop much below 166. Again, if it does, there's a lot of support here at 161. So anywhere between 161 and 170. This $9 range right here is where the stock is going to be on Monday and Tuesday before earnings. And then of course, several hours before earnings, AMD will start, being volatile, going up and down. We could get a little bit of a push Monday morning up because of earnings, but tariffs are definitely going to hold this stock down. So I would not be shocked if it dropped into the 162 range Monday or a little bit below, maybe even in the 159, 160 range going into earnings. But I think AMD is going to beat earnings based off all the data they've given us. Nvidia also has earnings coming up in 25 days. Again, same thing. This stock is likely Monday and Tuesday to fill this gap right here and dip down into 165 or even 160 before earnings. Then it starts to make its run. So inevitably, I think a drop down to here somewhere is very likely this week or next week based on the earnings coming up a few weeks out and based off data. But if it does, again, like every other stock I've mentioned, this is a buying opportunity because if all these stocks do pull back to the levels I tell you they're possibly going to pull back to, then it's a pretty big buying opportunity because if the stock drops, specifically Nvidia, down to 164 on tariffs this week, and then the news gets better and the data is good, and then earnings coming up and it's really good earnings, the stock will end up doing this number. And if you get in down here, well, then you've got yourself a nice $20-something profit. So that's how I'd play it. Wait to see how things go Monday morning. And I'm going to show you to gauge Monday morning tomorrow. Stick around a couple of minutes. I'm going to show you that. So this is what we're looking at for Nvidia. This is very important to understand that there are these likelihoods to pull back. All these stocks are going to pull back likely Monday morning, but we will know as we go to the weekend because sometimes Trump drops all these moments, positivity or negativity. They just happen on the weekends. So if that happens, then you're going to have to gauge the overnight and over the weekend market. Before I show you guys how to gauge the market in the overnight hours tomorrow, if this is confusing you, which I'm sure it is, or maybe you're having a hard time following and understanding technical analysis like I'm showing you in advanced charting, I would love to help you achieve your goals and help you grow your portfolio. It's what drives me every single day. Like I've said many times, I was raised Catholic to do the right thing. My parents were really hard on me, which is why when I achieved financial freedom, I set out to help others just like my students and you. I told myself when I achieved this goal, I would do whatever it took to help others have a good opportunity at doing the same thing that I did. And that's why I'm here to help you guys right now. So if you guys want to join my Discord, my mentorship, and my full training course and my trades, you guys can sign up at any time. The link to join is below. You can see the profits on the screen right now. The meta trade I printed recently, students printed 10, 20, 30, 40, even $60,000 you can see on the screen. The other trade with AMD, 12,000%. These were $300 options, turned out to be worth $3,800. This is insane returns. We've done this numerous times on Wayfair, Affirm, Hims, Robinhood. We also did it recently on Microsoft a few months ago where we made 400%. We just did it again on Meta and we did it on AMD. We're doing it on other stocks currently, and we have more trades going out every single week doing the same thing over and over. If you want to make these kinds of returns, don't put off anything today for tomorrow, because others have put off yesterday for today, and now you will be wasting time. Take action now. Link is below. Let me show you what you're doing wrong in the market, show you why it's hard, make it easier to understand, and help you succeed in the market and grow your portfolio. But don't take my word for it. Take a listen to what my student Josh had to say.
What stood out to you the most when you originally signed up for the Discord and the coaching, really gave you the incentive to want to join? And do you still feel the same way now? And what would your message be to others that are, in the same situation?
You were more focused on like the actual strategy of things as opposed to, pushing a particular stock or trying to like almost trick people into like how they can get rich. I'm also a masterclass student as well. And that's where I really took things to the next level. For anyone who's thinking about joining, is anyone can do this. It's just really like putting in the work and the effort to meet Corey halfway, but he will definitely get you there. I started with about $300,000 portfolio. Initially saw about between 60 and 70,000 within my first 6 weeks, which I was very excited about. So now I'm really, really excited to share that I've grown that $300,000 portfolio to well over 500,000. I'm definitely reaping the rewards now. Don't wait. I honestly can't thank Corey enough.
So you heard what my student Josh had to say. If you want this to be your success story, don't hesitate. Take action now. Link to join Discord is below. I will see you real soon. And we're going to start turning those losses into wins. And we're going to get you on the right track to making safe, consistent, passive income and growth so that you can achieve your goals. I look forward to seeing you very soon. So I promised you guys I would show you how to gauge the market in Sunday night in the after hours going into Monday morning. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. We do it with the MES. MES is the micro mini S&P 500 futures. We can see that this over Friday dropped just like the SPY. Wherever this goes tomorrow night, Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, wherever this opens up, that's going to show you the sentiment of the market Monday morning, and it's almost guaranteed. It's like 99% accuracy of what's likely to happen Monday morning. So if you see a gap up like this on a green candle, the market is likely to jump on Monday morning. If you see a gap down, it's likely the stock is going to drop down. If it's just consolidating, there's a lot of uncertainty. So you can see back here, Sunday, May 11th, going into Monday, May 12th, the MES, the micro mini futures and S&P gapped up. If we go look at the SPY, Monday morning, 5 a.m. gap right up, just like the MES. And it's not the only stock that did that. If we go look at Tesla and we go look at May 11th, we'll come back here. You see right there is May 11th. It gapped up. If we look at Microsoft, same exact thing. There we go. May 11th, gapped all the way up here. See that big gap? So pretty much every time the MES moves, it's going to happen the same thing in the market. Because what's going on is overseas in Japan, the market opens up first, and China, then it's Europe, and they're trading the MES and the futures. That's what they're doing. And it shows you the sentiment of the market. So whatever direction happens 6 p.m. Eastern time here in the States, that's going to show you what's happening and the likelihood of what's going to happen in the market. Very, very accurate, like 95, 99%, like almost guaranteed. And as the night progresses, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., then the European market gets ready to open. And when that happens, we see more direction on the MES. So if it gaps open at 6 p.m., let's say up, and then it kind of pulls back, and then later on in the night starts working its way up, we know we're going to have a run Monday morning. Granted, the same thing, if it gaps down and then continues to drop and consolidate, we're going to have some bearish sentiment. But it could also drop and then start going back up again. So that's why you have to watch it, just like it can gap up and then start dropping and consolidating. But typically, when it gaps up, it doesn't fall below the bottom. So if it gaps up, then this would become support. If it gaps down, then this would become resistance. So the middle line is really really what we're looking at. If we gap up, we know this line is safe. We're unlikely to drop below this Monday morning unless tariff talk gets worse. So this is how you gauge the market. This is how you look at it tomorrow night. Hopefully this is helpful. If you guys want to see a tutorial on Active Trader Pro Beta for Fidelity and you want to see a Webull or Robinhood tutorial, put that below. If you also want to see the top 5 stocks to buy in August that I've identified that are likely to run a lot in the next 3 to 6 months, definitely put that comment below and I'll make that video. I look forward to seeing you guys in the Discord real soon. Link to get started and join Discord is below, and I'll see you in Discord soon and on the next video. One love, fam.